Hey everyone, hope you're well. I know I haven't been uploading for a little bit, but I should be back over the next couple months. I want to work on some D2 projects that are more like academic focused and more like theory crafting in nature. Some of the stuff that I mentioned on stream before that I haven't been able to work on until now. So yeah, Guardian Games is out, so I thought I'd come back and make a little video going over if any of the three weapons are worth your time grinding for endgame before you kind of take a break from D2 until Shadow and Order comes out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Our first weapon that we have to talk about today is Triple Laureate. So Triple Laureate, it is a spread shot hand cannon, as you can see here. And originally it was listed, I think, in a twit as like an aggressive, so that kind of threw me off because it had 1-2 punch for some reason, but it makes a lot more sense that it's a spread shot. So it's a stasis hand cannon. And if we go ahead and look at the perks, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my marker here and draw over these perks. So for PvE, I would say Feeding Frenzy, pretty bad in my opinion. Subsistence is okay, but not the greatest when it comes to uptime. Slide Shot, okay, not that great. And then you have stuff like Grave Robber, which I think is, can be situationally decent. Ambitious Assassin is not that great, I would say. Rangefinder is a PvP perk. And then Crystalline Corpse Bloom is kind of interesting. So I'm going to put a circle on that one because it's like a splash perk in normally reload column. Now, of all the weapons to have double splash perks, spread shots have pretty poor stats when it comes to like handling and reload, as you can see here. Pretty awful. So without any sort of reload boost, this gun might not feel too good. But if you're able to, use stuff like marksman dodge to reload, or you have some sort of reload boost, or you have like Whisper of Impetus or something like that, I could see this potentially being decent. Right, Crystalline Corpse Bloom on a weapon this lethal, spread shots, very, very lethal, capable of killing red bars very quickly, even in high-level content. And so, Crystalline Corpse Bloom could be potentially pretty decent. You have Master of Arms, which I think is just okay. I'm going to put an X on that one. And then you have Trench Barrel, which can be good, I would say, like situationally, so we'll put a triangle on that. You have Opening Shot, which is pretty bad. And then you have Chaos Reshaped. Chaos Reshaped, interesting. Bungie has not put Chaos Reshaped on that many weapons recently, so this is a nice one to see. You have 1-2 Punch, which is situational. You have Kill Clip, which I would say is terrible on a weapon like this, where you don't want to be reloading too often. And then Pugilist, which is largely not relevant. I would say there are other spread shot hand cannons where if you wanted a melee-focused spread shot hand cannon with like Pugilist or something, you would take those instead. So I'm going to cancel this one out because, collective pugilism and stuff like that. So basically what you're looking at here, what makes this role special. Every time we look at a weapon in D2, we ask what makes this weapon different from its competitors. And the answer for this one is going to be this combo here. So Crystalline Corpse Bloom plus Chaos Reshaped. So you have a kind of healing perk, because of the tier 2 effect of Chaos Reshaped. You have a strong single target damage perk. And then you have, of course, a splash damage perk. So I could potentially see people using this. I don't think it really exits the role of a traditional spread shot in any way. There's no perk combo that's like so insane that it really like exits, the standard role of a spread shot. And still, it's not going to be so good that people who don't like spread shots are going to like using them. Now, I will point out here that this does get Hake, which is potentially decent for breaking your own crystals if you're on stasis, or the ones from Crystalline Corpse Bloom as well. So, there's some synergy here going on, but I don't think this is like anything crazy special. I decided to put it in the A tier with a bunch of other spread shots. The A tier is a bit of a mess in the hand cannon tier list right now. As you can see, there are, how many is this? 15 hand cannons in the A tier. So we're probably going to need to dilute this tier list and spread it out a little bit more. But, I think I'm fine with putting it in the same tier as stuff like Sarpedon and like Aureus Neutralizer at the high end. So it's nothing too crazy. I don't think it's S tier as high quality of life with Firefly Headstone Accelerated Assault as something like the modified B7, or I don't think it has, utility and the raw splash ad clear of like a destabilizing Curse Thrall Word of Crota. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the A tier. If you're an endgame player though, you probably don't need to farm for this thing. You're probably not going to use it. Okay, so next we have the Beacon. The Beacon is a solar energy slot fusion rifle. It's a rapid fire frame, so this is actually the Cartesian replacement that we've been waiting for all these years. Cartesian, led from Gold Vorpal, Banshee Roll, classic, everybody's been using it for a long time. We finally have a replacement. And what does the replacement bring? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to go ahead and speedrun crossing stuff off here just real quick. So I think Collective Pugilism actually probably has some synergy here because Collective Pugilism, if you don't know how it works, it basically returns melee energy upon you getting hits. And fusion rifles have a lot of hits. And so, people notice that on spread shots, for example, it was regenerating melees really quickly. That being said, I don't think you're going to be using this in a melee build. I think Overflow is like fine. Overflow is pretty good. I just realized I'm putting check marks on this and I was putting circles on the other one, but we'll go back to using check marks. So Overflow is good. Rewind is good. I would say Envious is not really relevant on fusion rifles that have these perks already, so I'm just going to put an X on it. I would say Lead from Gold is a decent swap perk that you can use. Demo is like, Demo's kind of okay on fusion rifles because you get the double buffed version on fusions, glaives, snipers, shotguns, etc. Although there are snipers that I would take over, this gun for getting grenade energy in a pinch. And then obviously Lone Wolf is a PvP perk. So you have bait and switch, which is pretty good. You have control burst, which is pretty good. You have closing time, which is a PvP perk. You have reservoir burst, which is just okay. And in fact, I'm probably just going to say it's not worth it on this gun. You have burning ambition, which I'm going to say also is not worth on this gun. Successful warm up, not worth on this gun. And then deconstruct, which is also not worth it on this gun. So basically, what we have here is a Cartesian coordinate with rewind overflow and control burst and bait and switch and a lead swap. So this is basically the best damage fusion rifle in the energy slot. You can argue Finite maybe has some competition with it, but that's an aggressive. So if you want higher quality of life and just simpler, straightforward, don't need to worry about face tanking the boss and the bolt spread, this is kind of the gun for you. You can basically get rid of your Cartesian now because this is just strictly better. Okay, so that's it for the beacon. And so I've gone ahead and I've placed the beacon in the top of S tier. You can argue that Riptide is a little better because of Accelerated Assault, but they're in different slots and they're basically tied, right? They're basically tied. I just said, rewind rounds and lead from gold swap. Plus you have bait and switch on top of control burst, maybe a little bit better. Accelerated Assault, you can argue though, is very good as well. That's it for the beacon. Let's go ahead and move on to our final weapon today, which is going to be Keraunios. I think I'm saying that correctly. It is an arc energy slot trace rifle, no new frame or anything. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Bungie has given us. So right off the rip here, you can take a look. We have Shoot to Loot, which is the #1 perk that you look for in a trace rifle. So that's a check mark from me. You have Rewind Rounds, which is, you're generally doing something wrong if you're holding down with a trace. So I'm going to go ahead and put an X on that. You have Supercharged Magazine, which we've talked about before in this channel. Not really a worthy perk. You have Overflow. I can see Overflow being like, okay, I'm going to put a yellow on it. You have Rapid Hit, which I don't necessarily approve of. You have Trickle Charge, which I can see being, again, okay. And then you have 4 times a charm, which is, again, okay. Generally speaking, you're not trying to, do sustained DPS with a trace rifle. If you are going to do that, this does have 4 times a charm target lock, which is, I guess, the ideal role for a high fire rate, big max size weapon for DPS. But again, we're talking about a trace rifle here. Unless Bungie in the future somehow buffs Cenotaph Mask on Warlocks to make it do increased sustained damage or something, like they did with Lucky Pants, Peacekeepers, etc., I don't really see this being viable. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a couple of the other perks here. I believe this is Butterfly, which is pretty bad, requires ADS time. This is Rolling Storm. Rolling Storm is just okay. Target Lock, I'm just going to put an X on it for now because I don't really see any purpose for keeping a roll like this for now. Chain Reaction, though, that's a bit interesting. This is the first trace rifle to have Chain Reaction. I'm going to put a check mark on that. Jolting Feedback is pretty bad on high mag dump time weapons, so we're going to get rid of that. You have Detonator Beam, which is fine. I think compared to Chain Reaction, it's probably a bit worse. So I might go yellow, but I'll put a green on it for now. And then Killing Tally. People seem to like Killing Tally a lot on trace rifles. I personally don't think it's the greatest perk ever, so I'm just going to give it a yellow. So really here, what makes this trace rifle stand out compared to the others, like we talked about with the spread shot from earlier? And I'm just going to say Shoot to Loot Chain Reaction, right? That's really what you're going to be looking for on this gun. Now, unfortunately, this is competing with a bunch of other Shoot to Loot trace rifles in the energy slot. It would be nice if this was a Stasis or a Strand trace rifle, so Unsworn has a little bit of competition, because right now, if you want a Shoot to Loot trace rifle in the kinetic slot, you have to farm Sundered for that Unsworn. But, I mean, if you want an energy slot trace rifle, you want to replace a Retrace, you want to replace a Chronophage, this is maybe going to be slightly better in some cases. So yeah, I might farm for a Shoot to Loot Chain Reaction or Shoot to Loot Detonator Beam, energy slot Keraunios. I might farm for the energy slot Fusion Rifle. The Beacon, unfortunately, Psi Eterna exists in this game right now, and until Rocket Pulses get nerfed or Fusion Rifles get buffed or some sort of in-between circumstance happens, I'm likely to never use Beacon. But maybe I'll keep it in my back pocket just in case, right? Okay, so that is pretty much it. I've gone ahead and I've placed Keraunios, as you can see over here. We go to traces. It is S tier, best trace in the game. Best perks. I think I put Supercharged Magazine here before I fully understood how Supercharged Magazine worked. It's not a very good perk, so I'm gonna just leave it off there. Shoot to Loot 4 times a charm, Chain Reaction, Rolling Storm, Target Lock. You could put Detonator Beam in here instead of Target Lock. To be honest, I'm just gonna replace that real quick. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I'll mention the Target Lock here for damage in the notes column. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Sorry about the lack of uploads recently. I am going through it right now, but I'll be trying to make some more videos in the future on some interesting topics in the downtime that we have until Shadow and Order. So you guys have a good one. Have a wonderful day. If you guys are still playing D2, I hope you're having a good time. We'll definitely make videos talking about the game state and stuff like that in the future. Not going to be doom posting, but just some objective analysis. All right, so that's it for now. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.